forced me into this 10-year-long friendship. So
that sucks for me.
Philly is overlooked. This city is absolutely awesome.
Hopefully someone wants to listen to this. Maybe it's only one, maybe it'll be 1,000, maybe it'll be 1,000,000, who knows?
Philly's definitely dirty and grimy. But
we are dirty
it does
and we are
feel.
grimy.
This is Join or Cry.
Philly, let's get silly. Welcome to Join or Cry. You already know who it is. It's the cheesesteak chasing, chariot racing, Grant Horan. My friends call me Ranch, and so can you. Joined alongside the charismatic, the fantastic, the Philadelphia flirt herself, Carly Potomac. Carly, what are the vibes?
The vibes are high, Grant. It is just a lovely Monday evening, and we're recording, and we're filming, and we're hanging out, and it is fabulous. It couldn't be better.
And that was Carly with the vibes. In other news,
Bringing you the vibes today.
Bringing you the vibes today. So, what do we have on the docket for the episode today? Well, pretty clear. We are going to be talking about the balance beam that is work and play. Because if you can't, or really more so, if you work hard, you need to be able to play hard. But you can't overdo it, because when you overdo it, you fall off the balance beam and splat. There it goes. So that's what we really want to dive into later in this episode, is talking about how do we manage that work-life balance? What are the risks? What are the rewards, right? Like, how do you manage that, especially in your early 20s, right? Once you get to your later 20s, I think you have a good idea of how to go about it. But in those early 20 years, it's kind of like, how do I continue to grind without burning out? Because that's the time you're supposed to do those things. But we want to shed some light on that and go into that a little bit more and hopefully give you guys some tips and tricks on how you can be successful yourselves. That said, though, Carly, before we go into that knit and grit, weekly whereabouts, do you have any details, any stories, anything fun that happened to you this weekend?
Unfortunately, not so much. Grant was the one who abandoned me, and he went off to New York and had himself a nice boys trip. And I needed to kind of, as my friend would say, recharge myself from last weekend. So I kind of really just hobbited this weekend. And then I watched the Giants-Eagles game at a questionably fun dive bar in Phoenixville yesterday on a school night, so that was kind of crazy. But we're good, and I didn't really have anything all that entertaining that I feel is worth sharing for you guys. I'm so sorry. But I know that Grant has a story that I think that he would really enjoy to get into.
That is true, Carly. I do have a story. Prior to going into the story, I will say yes. It is funny. I know on the first episode 0, I talk about how New York is a cesspool and it's the actual bane of my existence. I did go there, but only mentioning it because I'm going to shout out my boy A-Man, who dropped his EP. It's out on SoundCloud right now. Look up A-MAN. It is absolute heat. You won't be disappointed. You'll enjoy listening to it, and I enjoyed being in the studio there with him. But prior to going to what people call the city, which we need to change that, Philadelphia is going to become the city of the East Coast. This year, wasn't a resolution, but I told myself I really wanted to just start doing things that I wanted to do. And part of me coming to a brand new city, I need to make new friends, just want to go out, meet people. So I told myself, just throw yourself out of your comfort zone, and if you want to go do something, just go do it. So my story is this. Friday night comes along. I've put in a good week worth of work, right? So as we talked about work-life balance, I needed to balance that out. I was like, starting a new job, you're thriving in there, you need to go just chill out, have some fun.
I've just been working. There hasn't been a lot of play this week.
And, Carly was too busy having her girls' movie night to hang out or do something. I had plans with my
roommate. Nice, sober, fun plans.
Fun. So I was left to my own devices. And I said, all right, let's go out and do something different. Now, there's been a couple of speakeasies around where I live in Philadelphia that I wanted to try. So I go to this first one. It's Rosen something or Randstead Room.
Randstead,
something. Yeah,
I think
Randstead Room.
Is, yeah. Rosen.
Rosen,
Close.
whatever. Yeah,
Close.
Randstead Room. And this bar is only like 40 people deep, like maximum capacity. Walk up, and it is just me, myself, and I. I go there. It's probably about 7:45 on a Friday, and I get people doing their date nights and all that stuff. But I'm thinking, just me, myself, and I should be able to just kind of go in, grab a quick drink, no big deal. Walk up, guys like, yeah, we are totally booked. And I'm like, damn, dude, like,
Are you really gonna do me like that?
Yeah, and it's not even like booked like they have reservations. They don't do reservations. It is strictly first in, first out. And I was like, yo, is there anyone leaving the bar? He's like, yeah, actually, some people may have their checks. Let me go check. Literally was gone for like 5 to 10 minutes, comes back, dude, no one's moving. I'm like, bro. So that plan A failed, but I said, you know what, whoa. I'm not, calling it quits. This is way too early. It's 7, almost 8 o'clock on a Saturday or Friday night. I'm not going back home and putting on a movie like Carly here and just crying myself to sleep.
Whoa. No one said anything about crying. I'm just going to put
we
that
don't
out
cry.
there.
We don't cry on this show.
We don't
right?
cry. Anyway.
We thrive. So there was this other one that is generally like 5 blocks away from me. Now, this might be, I will say, DC had some cool speakeasies, but this might actually be one of the coolest bars that I've ever been to. First off, locating this bar is not easy. I'm hesitant to give people the name because I don't want this to be. Yeah, I'm not going to drop it.
Like a reward.
Yeah, there's a risk and a reward. Here's all I will say. It is a black door down. I'm not going to even call it an alleyway. I'm going to call it a corridor. Because yes, I'm telling you, yes, Philly has alleys and things like that. But like this was one of those tight
nooks and crannies places.
Exactly. So it is like a totally unmarked black door. And genuinely, if there was not a guy standing outside as like a kind of bouncer / host, I would have no idea that this place existed. Anywho, walk on over, go on in, and here's what the rough part was, Carly. As I said, it's Friday night, right? People are on their little date nights. People are having fun. And I just wanted to go sit at a bar somewhere. Because when you're at the bar, that's when you can have good conversations, right? You talk to someone, do this or that. Okay. The guy at the front door says, hey, yeah, let's see if we can get you a place at the bar. No one's, same as the last place, no one's leaving the bar.
Strike 2.
And they're like, yo, would you mind just sitting at a table? And at that point, I was like, I'm already here. Yeah, fine. Put me at a table. And I'm thinking, cool. They'll find me a small little corner of the room or something, and I'll just enjoy some people watching. Instead, I kid you not, they put me in I'm not saying the right center of the room. It still was against a wall, but right in between 2 couples on dates. I kid you not, there is maybe 1.5 feet between each table, and then I'm just there, and yeah, it was interesting to say the least. I basically was just sitting there listening to conversations left and right, oh, what's this date talking about? Oh, I really don't like mashed potatoes, but my dad likes them. So it was so wild. Again, I'm trying to people watch and enjoy, so I grabbed some drinks. But of course, when you drink, alcohol affects your bladder, and people more or less need to go to the restroom, right? And with that, the girl to my left gets up, wanders off. So I start having a conversation with the guy, what number date is this? Blah, blah, blah. Find out he's working in private equity, doing finance stuff. Just end up moving here. Really cool guy. 10 out of 10 vibes. So that was fun just to be able to talk to someone. But here is where it's funny because everyone was saying last week they're messaging me oh, Grant, were you the Rizzler? You just said it was one of your friends or something.
A nickname.
Yeah, no, it was not me. All right, I am not the Rizzler, but do I have Riz?
He's got some Riz tendencies for sure.
I got a little bit of Riz. Riz Jr. Riz Jr. People call me Ranch because I be dressing, baby.
Oh man.
Absolute cringe. So, point is, after that conversation happens, the couple to my right, the guy gets up, leaves the table. Gentlemen, do not leave your woman unattended in my vicinity, because I basically turned to the girl. She's somewhat attractive. That was, I guess, maybe rude of me. She was an attractive lady. And again, making small talk, I just say first, second, third date. She's like, oh, it's only our second date, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, pretty nice place for a second date. She's like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, so is it going good? And she's like, yeah, it's good. I'm like, oh, it's good, but it's not great. And she has that playful laugh, haha, yada, yada. Now, here's where I'm going to plug something, people, because I had basically just gotten my check and I was about to bounce out the door, I'm going to plug this business card. It is called a dot card. It essentially is a virtual business card where if you tap it on someone's phone, it pulls up like a profile page, like again, any sort of business card, and it's all your contact information that that person can save in like a snap. It is awesome, super cool.
You might be wondering how Grant discovered these cards.
I discovered these cards because back pre-COVID, I had this exact idea, and then I started actually developing this with someone.
Oh.
And then COVID hit, and I was like, well, no one's seeing anyone, so it's going to be hard to get people to actually back a business card when no one is doing any sort of in-person event.
Fair.
Long story short, then I started revisiting the idea, and I then saw there was like 3 or 4 of them on the market, and I was like, well, that opportunity has gone and passed. C'est la vie. Anywho, I tell them, I'm like, hey, like, you already have your phone out, like, here, tap this. Taps the card, my info comes up, and she's like, oh, that's like really cool, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, well, you have my information. If you don't go on a third date, let me know, and we can schedule our first. Bam. Absolute Riz. That is right. Don't call me Rizzler Jr., but Jessica, if you're listening, girl, text me. Let's go.
She
Let's
said
set
the
this thing
wrong
up.
name.
Yeah. I'm 95% sure she said
95?
Jessica,
Okay, that's
but
pretty good.
Anyway, that was my story. Moral of the story, gentlemen, don't leave girls unattended to go to the bathroom on your dates because you never know.
You might just slither on in there.
Again, just like me, just like the snake on our logo, you never know when I'm going to be slipping and sliding and stealing your woman.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so that was my story of the week. Any other thoughts on that, Carly, before we transition to the actual meat of the episode here?
I kind of wish that, like you said, we would have saved that because I think my reaction to that story was a lot better when you told it the first time. But I still did want to give Grant some props for that because that honestly probably would have worked on me in a bar. So not bad. On the scale of 1 to cringe, it was like,
It's like that perfect medium.
It was fine. It was like, could have gone either way, but we'll see if Jessica reaches out to Grant, and that'll really just, we'll save that for next week if she does.
Yeah. Doubt it happens. Well, yeah, we'll definitely let you know if she does, but doubtful. Anyway, had to give myself a little bit of props on that, Riz. But as we all know, let's get into that steak and cheese, baby. Yes. Let's talk about balancing work and our actual social life, right? Carly, let me just ask you this. You've been out in the workplace now. You've been grinding. We've both been graduated now for about 5 years from college. How do you go about, I know, right? It's a scary thought to think about that it's been that long.
Sheesh.
How do you go about managing your time and work, and then when you close your computer being like, all right, like, it's me time to draw that bubble bath, and light a couple candles, drop in the bath bomb. Like, how do you manage?
So I would say, first of all, I've only really ever worked in person. So that, I think, adds a whole nother element to a work-life balance situation. I think I told you last week that I've worked in hotels my entire 4-something-year career now, and that requires me to be in person. This most recent job that I have the opportunity to work hybrid and like possibly work from home up to 2 days a week, but I choose not to because personally, this is a kind of a good thing to talk about since I work basically fully in person and Grant works fully remote, so we can kind of talk about both of those things. But I prefer working in person because one, it's motivating to me to wake up, have to, put my face on, run a brush through my hair, put an outfit together, and like physically leave my home. And then when I'm at work, I work. And then when I am no longer at work, usually I don't take my laptop home, but if I do, whatever. And then I just separate them purely physically first. And I kind of am like, okay, I'll stay as long as I have to, so I don't have to do anything else when I come home. And I think that I work best in an environment that isn't my home because I'm one to nap. And I just do not understand how people who work from home do not just fall asleep unless they're like getting changed or something or have a different room. I'm not even sure how it goes, but I worked from home like very shortly in the pandemic when I was in between jobs and whatever. Also when I was working at Planet Fitness. And I actually really did not like it because although it was a very strict like 8:30 to 5 or whatever it was, I saw no one. I didn't even have to be on the phone. I talked to no one and I only had a roommate. So it was just me and my roommate and we just kind of, did our own thing and then work was over. And then I had to be like, well, what do we do now? And that was a terrible example of when to work from home because there was really nothing else to do. There was no other option. But just from that experience alone, I don't think I could ever really go back from working from home. But I guess to more so answer your question, I'm very much a scheduler person, as is Grant. So I prioritize, like I said last week, my friends a lot. And I just really try to put things on the books. So I know, hey, you're not working anymore. Like you have something to do, like with so-and-so, or even if I have to just schedule the gym party of one with myself and put that in my calendar so there's something in there so I could be like, oh, reminder, Carly, hello, you're stopping working now. Because in my job in particular, unfortunately, the work just never seems to be fully ever over. Like I can leave. I tend to I try to always leave without anything in my inbox and everything, all my boxes checked and my T's crossed and my I's dotted, whatever. Just because, again, super, controlling and things like this. So
I mean, tonight's almost like a perfect example for Carly. We were supposed to start recording this like an hour earlier, and then she was like, yeah, I'm still at the office doing stuff. We're going to have to push this a little later. And I was like, oof, that's a rough
But
scene.
I did have it in my reminder, so I knew I could not bail on Grant. And I think that just having plans that are actually on a calendar helps me a lot personally. And I think that, yes, because I work in events, I do have to work sometimes on the weekends and things like this, but I really, really try, and I could definitely be better. My friends could tell you I was still like answering my emails when I'm with them. Like yesterday, on Sunday, when I was trying to hang out with my friends Sarah and Craig at this game, I couldn't even focus for the first 30 minutes because I had to call people. I was getting texts, all this, and it was just, it's hard. It's definitely very hard because, again, there's really no stop time to my particular job. So I think it's just really making sure that I'm prioritizing other things when I'm not working and not just like, I'm a mere 26-year-old. I cannot burn out before I turn 30. I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of financial goals, and I need to, I'm hopefully retire, at a reasonable age, if we can ever get to that point with this economy at this point. But yeah, I think it's just mostly pivotal to make sure that you're making actual plans as opposed to like texting a buddy and being like, hey, we should do something.
Yeah, well, because that works, with like your day one people maybe.
Right.
But yeah, any other person like, hey, you want to do something? Well, let me go check my schedule. Let me see this. And maybe if I push around my hot yoga class, then I can. Yeah, so no, I definitely agree with that. And following up on your point, right? So similar to Carly, not similar to Carly, but I feel like the job that I work is always on in the sense that working in sales, it's all about the time you put in drives the results that you get out. Right. And like you were saying, I think specifically in a sales role, even like it happens in consulting and other positions where you're on a big project and you're like, oh, well, like I have some friends who do a ton of consulting at some like those big fives, right? And it'll be a Sunday night and they're like, oh, I got to send this email because I don't want to just deal with it tomorrow morning, so let me just do it now, right? And it's like, could they do it? Absolutely, but some people are just like that type A personality where, again, like you said, you just always want that clear inbox. You always want to feel like you're ahead of it. And that can be straining for some, right? Now, if you're on the opposite end and you're able to just be like, yeah, like that's
just let go, log off, sayonara until Monday.
Because that's a very healthy mindset to have. But I think in young culture, it is not something that a lot of people, I want to say, feel the confidence of having, right? And I think when I was younger, back when I was, let's say 21 to 24, when I was first really starting my career, I was much more apt to doing that because it was like, I want to show them, hey, like, I'm working hard. I want to get ahead. Like, I want to be someone who's always on. I will say, as I've shifted to this middle age of the 20s where I feel a little more confident about where I am in an organization and the value that I bring to it.
And your competency. And
Exactly, my competency and all that. It's made me realize that, like, hey, you, as much as you want to be on all the time,
Yeah.
it is more than okay to say, like, hey, take a break. Like, you don't need to respond to that email at Sunday night at 9 o'clock. You can literally do it at 7:30 when you're on your computer tomorrow morning, and no one's going to know the difference. Because even if you send an email prior to 9 o'clock on Monday morning, people are like, oh, wow, like, clearly he got back to you pretty quick. So
Right.
I would definitely say that. And then two, as Carly mentioned, I work fully remote. Now, it is very interesting you mentioned that, like, how do some people work? And I will say, I think I do a good job, and that is more so because of the profession I'm in. I need to work to drive metrics, to make sales, to, like, make
Keep a
commission
job?
and keep a job. Some of these friends that I have who work consulting, I kid you not, they are on these bum projects that they sit there and they're billing their clients, and meanwhile, I know for a fact they're sitting there on Call of Duty just playing with their friends or dropping over tilted towers on Fortnite. And I'm like, bro, like, again, respect that you're in a job, you make some good money, but sheesh, like,
Must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice. Here I am, like, all right, let's grind.
Grinding away, waking
Let's
up
go,
at 6
yeah,
a.m., even though I don't have to be logged on technically till 9.
I love it. You know, make some cold calls. No, I don't want your shit. Up, click. Oh, goddamn! I have to make like 100 more of these things. Shoot me now, right?
Yeah.
But also, the point is, with that, right? I'm lucky enough in my apartment to have my own separate office.
Right.
And I would encourage anyone, if you work from home, but you know, you only have like a one bedroom, so it's like your bedroom, a living area, and a kitchen or something, or even a studio, whatever it is, like, try to set up a space that is strictly like, this is my work zone, whether it is 10 square feet or whether it's, you know, 100 square feet. Set an area that's like, when I'm in this part, this is my work, right? So for me, I'm lucky enough I can go into my office and be like, cool, I'm on the clock, I feel good. There's times I walk out and I'm like, all right, cool, like, I'm on my lunch break. Or there's times at the end of the day, like even today, I went back in for another like 5 minutes because, as Carly mentioned, I just wanted to clear my inbox, make sure, because some of my clients are on the West Coast. So me being at 8 o'clock my time, it's only 5 o'clock their time, right? So if someone sends me something, hey, I want to be able to make sure I get back to them, set up that meeting for tomorrow or whatever day it is. And I don't feel bad doing that because I know I'm just taking another 10 minutes going in there really quick and setting myself up for success the next day.
Yeah.
So I'd say compartmentalizing is such a huge aspect because, like you're saying, when you let your calendar and when you like have a cellular device, which especially if you connect that to your work stuff, then it is almost like you're never letting yourself go. I will say our company uses Slack. We use some other, classic emails, things like that. The only thing that I've put onto my phone, that way I can truly separate work from my personal life, is my email account. Because email to me, yes, that is very easy for me to respond, and I do think a lot of communication does happen. Granted, yes, do I get phone calls from people on my personal phone? Sure, again, that is what it is. I'm not going to say no. Again, being in sales, if someone calls me, like, yes, please let me answer, and please,
half
like,
a ring happens.
exactly, like,
Hello?
you know, I'm right on it. Hello, it's Grant. Like, what do you
What
buy
can I sell
exactly?
you
What
today?
can I sell you today? So, totally. I think that's one thing that totally changed my perspective, was because at previous companies, I downloaded everything. I was like, oh, like, I'm not saying that I wanted to be a workaholic, but it was like, oh, like, I want to show that I'm always on and I'm always doing this. And as I've moved into this new role, I'm still, I don't say a workaholic, I'm still someone who is on top of my game, but I'm able to totally keep the two separate, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, like, you can still be on, you can answer some emails, you can take a call here and there, but you don't need to be reading all the Slack messages that come to you, or like Microsoft Teams messages, whatever, internal communication tool your company uses, right? Or I don't need to be listening to recorded calls or whatever it is, like, in my off time. Like, some people do that, good for you, I respect the hustle. And sometimes, like, I'm not going to say I don't work overtime and do things. Of course I do, because in the sales role, like I said, you get in or you get out what you put in.
Right.
But at the same time, don't be afraid to say, like, hey, like, I'm taking the off switch. It's good for your mental health. Everyone talks about mental health is such a big thing. Like, when you overwork yourself, when you get burned out, you start to become, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say.
I was gonna say resentful, but
Yes, that is, yeah. You don't want to say like you become resentful to your work, but it ends up becoming harder to almost get up on Mondays because you're like, oh man, like Monday I have to go work. Work should be something like, yeah, I'm not saying everyone has their exact dream job, but it should be something you get up on Monday and say like, all right, cool, I'm ready to press on. Let's put in another good 40, 50 hours, whatever you have to do to get your job done, and let's make it happen.
Yeah, no, I liked pretty much everything you just said there. And like the one key thing that is actually a common theme at my particular hotel that I work with now is just setting yourself up for success. And that's kind of just the general theme of all the departments setting each other up for success. But I think that's really important. And I was kind of just thinking when you were talking why I feel the need to work so hard when, yes, it's obviously good to have good work ethic and being like the first one in at work and like the last to leave. But at the same time, am I doing that to set myself up for success, or am I doing that so I look like I'm working super hard and like I'm there like working way past the hours that other people are? But no, it's not like anyone's seeing me. It's not like anyone knows that I'm doing that. Also, not a surgeon. Definitely not curing cancer. I just have to remind myself.
I don't know. This hotel could have the secret cure in the vault somewhere, Carly.
As much as I would like to regard my job very highly, and I know that I have a very important job to do, and everything kind of seems like an emergency because some of my clients can be, we're supposed to say high touch? Yeah, high touch instead of needy and like overbearing and have no boundaries, that sort of thing. So I think that I just need to really, and also the more that I work, like the more hours that I work, I don't think that reflects how hard of a worker I am, as it does kind of, hopefully not, but show my boss like, why can this girl not get her work done in the normal amount of time? So I think that it's just a hospitality thing. That's just something that if anyone out there is in hospitality can definitely relate to or wants to get into hospitality. I'm not here for the money. I will lay that out very honestly. I'm in it because I love it, but also at the same time, I don't have as much separation from my work as I would like to, but I do find my job extremely rewarding. So that's kind of the trade-off. Like I work a lot, I feel like, but I'm very proud of myself at the end of the day when these events go off well. Like for instance, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but I'm currently working on a Johnson & Johnson event, like a 4.5 day event, and it's for like 230 people. And it's just been
a lot
grueling, to say the least. The woman I've been working with, extremely nice, extremely pleasant, but it's been a pain in my ass. And I just need to remind myself that when I am with my friends and not working, I need to also respect their time, because I don't want to be the person on my phone. I don't even like being on my phone anymore when I'm hanging out with my friends because I feel like it's rude. And I really genuinely just want to have conversations, whether we're drinking or not. But I want to also get my work done. So I'm still honestly struggling with the whole work-life balance thing. So I think that also I learned that there really is no such thing as a total 9 to 5.
Oh, yeah.
I think that whole fantasy was something we were told. It's just like it's just a 9 to 5 job, meaning you work a job that's like not crazy overnight hours. But
yeah,
I certainly do not work 9 to 5. Just putting that out there. So I need to really prioritize more other things as well, because I want to work to live. No, wait, which one is it? Yes, I want to work to live, not live to work. So I think I just need to really remember to, again, I'm not solving any crazy mathematical formulas that are going to change the world or anything. So
you're just hosting the greatest events.
It can wait. It can wait.
Let me ask you on the last question, then I'll take a little bit over. In terms of how you feel like your industry and then like your company culture is in terms, again, work-life balance, would you say it is healthy?
At this current hotel I'm at, and I just won't say for privacy reasons, but yes, they are very, very good at not breeding a culture that is like, you gotta get in here at 7 a.m. and you are not allowed to leave until 6 p.m. That is not it at all. Like, I would say the sales managers have an amazing work-life balance. I often am very jealous of their schedule because it kind of seems like they just, stroll on in right at 8:59 and then they're out of here by like 4:49, and I'm just like, feel like I'm always there. But again, it's a very different job. Like I said, I'm making decent money. I can't complain. My earning potential is pretty good. And the nice thing about being on the services side now is my goals, they are numerical, but I don't have like a selling goal, obviously, because I'm not in sales anymore. So basically just doing my job and doing it well, I will make all of my bonuses. So it's not like that's a constant thing I need to think about. If I'm doing my job, I will be getting more money, and that's just what it is. And yes, I have to work more hours, but I don't have like the pressure of having like a number that I'm constantly looking at. Like I made all my goals last quarter and I asked my boss like how I was doing. So that was nice to know. And it's just, they very much are like, take whatever lunch you need, like go to the doctors, like come in late. If you work over the weekend, please take a day off during the week. It's just, my boss, like she always is working, like she's the director of sales and marketing there. She leads by example. She does work crazy hours. Like she'll be sending emails at like 10 o'clock, but she specifically in the bottom is like, please don't answer this, or like sends a team. Like, you do not need to respond to this. I'm just sending it now, but have a good night. Like it's not, it is a competitive environment, but it's also, they very much value work-life balance, and that it's a very trusting group because they know that they've hired capable people, and they know that these people are not taking advantage of, rolling in at whatever time they roll in, assuming they'll get their job done. So I would say that they are very good with that. And previous hotels I've been at have not been like that. That's what I'll say to that.
So the reason I asked that, and I think the point I want to make with this next little bit, is talking about when you first graduate, or even when you're in the job that you're currently in, right? Mm-hmm. Your work-life balance is something that you need to just take into consideration when you consider a company culture and like what they stand for, and then really the industry that you're in, right? Because obviously there are people who are in nursing or in, again, who are doctors, things like that. Like you could be working night shifts. You could be in the emergency room. Like, again, you're sleeping during the day. Like you're trying to find totally different balances, right? Like definitely outside the corporate world. Now, if you're in the corporate world, so for people that don't know, I studied finance in college, right? When I graduated, I thought, oh, maybe I'll go be like Jordan Belfort, and I'll go, that's like every stupid, frat boy dream. Like, a finance major, frat boy, I'm just going to go sell stocks and bonds on Wall Street and make
And I'll basically become
money.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right. But here's the thing. So it's funny, I was speaking to my friend who works in HR at a tech company on Saturday when I was in New York, right? And he was talking about how this one individual that he's currently looking into recruiting for their company, they work at one of the big finance organizations. So imagine a JP Morgan Chase, Goldman, one of those, right? The big boys. Obviously, when you graduate, and let's say you are able to become an analyst there, which I'm not saying it's all nepotism, but you really do need to know someone to be able to get, either you know someone or your GPA is a genuine above a 4.0 and you went to an Ivy League school. That's the only way you start working at one of these organizations. Now again, totally get it, like that's the prestige of it, and these individuals are worked like you've never seen before. Like I know for a fact I had a friend who did this, and they were genuinely working at a minimum, I would say, like 80 hours a week. Like they would have to go in on Saturdays. They would have to get into the office at 5, 6 a.m. to do pre-work before the bell rings, and then then it's like you're doing all this stuff all day, and then they still expect you to stay until 7 at night. So it's literally like 12-hour days. Now again, these individuals are paid very well with base salary, and I'm telling you, when they hit their bonuses, they more likely than not make over $200K a year. If that is your vibe, props to you, right? Because I do respect the people that can do that. It is a grueling task, and no wonder a lot of them are hooked on that Nicaraguan nose candy because, you need something, I guess. Right? To go ahead and work that hard. But the point I'm trying to make is that consider the industry you go into when you consider pay and all these other things, right? Because your earnings potential and all that stuff is rooted to the industry you're in, but also like how much you want to work. So and the point I'm making is that this friend of mine, the HR recruiter, the person that was working at this Big Five reached out to them and wants to pivot their career, start something new, but they're expecting the same salary for a very different type of position. Like they aren't going to be doing financial work or anything like that. And I was laughing with him because I was like, this individual is ludicrous. You don't understand. First off, if you need to transfer the right set of skills. Like the skills that you've done at this financial firm are not going to translate into the skills that you need in this tech company doing sales for them, right? Two, they tried to leverage like, well, oh, I'm at this big company. Like I was told that this would help me with my career and that I could do this. And it's like, yeah, if you go to any other financial firm, hedge fund, whatever, I'm sure you can make exactly what you are making. But if you want, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So if you want that work-life balance, you're going to take a pay cut so you can only work those 40, 45 hours a week and still make relatively good money. Like I will say, yes, the tech industry right now, God rest its soul, like it is taking an absolute beating, and I'm lucky enough to say that I still have a position and I'm doing everything I can to continue thriving given the economic circumstances. But again, point that I'm trying to make with this is look at the industry that you're in and then really have a talk with yourself like, what do I want in my job, right? If you're one of those people who says like, yeah, like I want to devote my early 20s from 22 to 25 to be like someone that's at those finance firms or in that consulting world or something where like I am going to just grind, put my head down, make sure people know who I am. Carl, like you were saying, first one in, last one out, because I'm not gonna say that's what it takes to get ahead, but more often than not, like that's what you need to do. And that's what I did. That's what a lot of people want. You need to be motivated in your young 20s to do that, because when you do that, you give yourself the ability to have that work-life balance at 25, at 26, as you approach your 30s, where it's like, cool, like I have a very solid resume. I have a great set, like skill set that people find valuable. And now I can truly focus on developing myself, continually develop myself personally, physically, all those things. Right. So really, when you first graduate and start looking at a job, or even if you're looking at a job right now and trying to make a career shift, take all these things into account. If you just want money, go get it. Exactly. Go get it. And most jobs, again, that are going to pay you well are going to expect a lot of hours, effort, and great skills to be able to do it.
You might want to off yourself. Again. But hey, at least you'll be crying in your money.
But again, if you want work-life balance and you want to go manage a beach bungalow in Jamaica, selling banana boat rides and sipping pina coladas, hey, that's your vibe, man. Like, go ahead and do what you want to do. Like, at the end of the day, as long as you're happy, you can manage that work-life balance, go get it. But just realize, again, everything comes with options, right? Or maybe not options is the word I'm looking for. It comes with consequences, per se. Whereas, again, like, you can't have everything, so pick the things that are important to you, the things that you want, and ultimately that'll allow you to have that work-life balance and that life that you want to continuously live and that you're excited to get up and go do every day.
Yeah. Speaking of work-life balance, I just received a nice little ping on WhatsApp from my client, but she was thanking me, so that was nice. I kind of just wanted to ask, when you were talking about all that, one, I wanted to just make a point. I think that it's kind of like juggling those balls when it comes to, all right.
You like juggling balls?
You know what kind of balls I'm talking about, the metaphorical balls, like your personal life, your professional life, and your love life. You can't have, I mean, maybe you can. I haven't achieved,
if you have them all three,
I have not achieved that yet.
You're doing a lot of good time blocking if you can manage all those balls.
Compartmentalizing, a lot of time management, I think that takes. Probably not a lot of sleep, I don't know. But you're more so looking at like successfully maintaining like two of those, and then one might have to fall by the wayside. And Grant, in my situation, I think our love lives are kind of falling by the wayside a little, and we're prioritizing getting that money first. But anywho, I also kind of want to just ask one more question before we wrap this up. We could talk about this like in a whole other episode too, but I just want to hear your initial thoughts since we were talking about it. Are you one of those people that believe that money can buy happiness? I love talking about this.
That's a great honestly, Carly,
We
yeah,
can really
we
talk
have
about
to
this
do
in a
a
whole nother episode,
yeah,
but
we
like
will have to do a whole
a
nother
quick,
because that's
like,
a great
yes
question.
or no, and then
Um,
I'll tell you what I think.
No, I don't think money can buy happiness because as much as people say, oh, well, have you ever seen someone ride a jet ski? They're always happy. No, I think as much as we want to believe that money can buy happiness, and it can certainly make your life easier, right? And I'm also not going to say, oh, money's the root of evil. I don't think that. But I do not think money can solve everyone's problems. Again, it can certainly make life easier, can make the strain or, the things you go through a lot easier, but there's no way that physical money can provide someone happiness. Your thoughts?
Interesting.
Again,
If
we'll
you
definitely
think-
say this for a whole nother because that's actually a very good topic.
I love
I'd
talking
that.
about this stuff, but we'll talk about like finances in another episode. But I disagree. I think that, and I'll go into all my actual thoughts on this when we talk about it more, but if I had to choose being miserable and poor or miserable and rich, I would absolutely always choose miserable and rich.
Well,
that's like so negative.
You're saying miserable and rich, so that person's not happy though.
I was saying worst case scenario. Obviously, best case scenario,
Well, yeah.
Physical money is not going to make you happy, but I think that not having financial stress can make me happy. I feel like being able to buy everything that I want for myself, my friends, my family, all of this without having to worry, again, financial stress, can make me happy. It can buy me experiences that will make me happy.
All right.
We'll get into it more.
It's a whole other topic.
You say
We'll
no,
save it.
I say
I like that
yes,
we'll be able to debate it. It'll be
but
fun.
we can have a little more of an in-depth conversation about it later. But my initial reaction is that yes, not physical pieces of money can't buy me happiness, but I would rather have it than not.
All right. Well, Carl's, other than that, I guess, closing thoughts here, as always. Manage your time, manage your work-life balance. Don't feel like you are chained and shackled to your desk. Go be able to enjoy your life and take some of these tips and things that we've told you to help you leverage that. Anything else you want to say?
If you guys would, go ahead and like and rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel and smash that like. And if you're feeling really generous, what else can I do?
Go follow us on the gram, baby. That's the most important thing. Give us that follow on Instagram. We're always posting fun content there. And if you really, really like us, I'm telling you, these Rizzler and number 35 jerseys in the merch store, they're clean. We got some other merch. Go ahead and grab your guys some gear. Other than that, we'll see you guys next Thursday when you either join
Or cry.